Greetings, I'm Professor Hobo, and welcome to another Hobo Technicals product review. Today's product is one that just became available for retail sale to the public. I had many requests to review this one back when it was on Kickstarter, but because I was slammed with BLUETTI and ECOFLOW products coming out left and right, I had to put this one on the back burner. Now I'm glad I did because I received the retail version of this product for review and I think you'll be impressed with the quality. Let's check it out.
HOBOTECH.
This tall, dark, and handsome machine is called the Generark HOMEPOWER 2. It actually comes in two different flavors. This one is the Plus model, which is 2,060 watt hours, and then there's a smaller starter version that's 1,566 watt hours. Both models have NMC batteries, which is the same type of batteries used in Jackery and a lot of other solar generators. They claim 800 cycles to 80% capacity. Now that doesn't mean after 800 cycles you have to replace the battery or throw it away. It means you lose the top 20% of the battery capacity. Now they do say in the user manual, if you only discharge this down to 25% each time instead of all the way to zero, you'll double the lifespan of the battery. As for size and weight, this is only 10 by 10 by 24 inches at a nice Star Trek weight of 47 pounds. The build quality is all ABS plastic, but it is a very sexy design. Everything is flush and smooth. The plastic is really nice. There's no weird marks or stretch marks or anything on it. You can see down here, there's actually a light that goes around. It's sort of a bluish white light. And you can turn that on and off by pressing this button. So a single press turns the display on. A second press turns the light on. One of the coolest things about the Generark is that it actually comes with a magnetic wheelbase. So you just slap the Generark on its magnetic wheels, and then you can dance around with it like an idiot. This also does come from the factory with a dust cover, a pretty nice one in fact, which allows you to throw the dust cover on this in case you're just going to stick it in a closet or leave it in your garage for backup power. As for the display, it has a nice color LCD loaded with info such as charge discharge times, charge discharge wattage, battery percent display, battery icon, low and high temperature warnings, and additional inverter information. And as for the inverter size on this, this is actually a pretty powerful 2200 watt pure sine inverter with a 4400 watt surge and 4 20 amp outlets. As for solar input, this supports two 400 watt MPPT controllers from 12.6 to 54 volts each. And as for ways to charge, this will charge from AC wall outlet with just this cord. There's no additional power supplies. This just plugs directly into the wall. It'll charge at 1,000 watts, and it'll get you from 0 to 100 in about 2.5 hours. If you decide to max out the solar to 800 watts, it'll take about 3 to 4 hours to charge under ideal conditions. The unit also supports charging from 12 or 24 volt vehicle. It does come with one 12 volt adapter. It supports two. So you can actually charge this at double the speed that you could from just about any other solar generator if you have two of these adapters. It'll allow you to do an input up to 240 watts, which means you can charge this from 0 to full in about 9 hours of driving. That's not too bad. Note that these are the only two adapter cables that the Generark comes with. It does not include anything that allows you to hook up third-party solar panels. I'll get to this later. As for 12 volt outputs, this has a single 12 volt cigarette style lighter output rated at 10 amps and is regulated at 13.0 volts. As for USB output types, this actually supports two 100 watt power delivery ports and two USB 18 watt quick charge ports. So very well rounded when it comes to USB ports. Other features include ambient lighting that changes color depending on the charge status of the battery. So once you get below 10% charge, it turns yellow, and once you get below 5% charge, it turns red. Now for the big shocker, Generark actually offers a 5-year manufacturer's warranty on this product, which is one of the highest I've ever seen for something retail. Now before you angrily go typing in the comments about EcoFlow's 10-year warranty, that 10-year warranty was only for supporters of the Kickstarter campaign, and once you buy the retail product, there's no 10-year warranty. So I know sometimes Indiegogo or Kickstarter projects, they'll offer 5 or 10-year warranties, but they almost never offer a 5 or 10-year warranty if you buy the retail product from their store page. This is where Generark is different. If anyone out there knows of a longer factory warranty on a retail store product, let me know in the comments. And of course, we took this very sexy Generark into our secret laboratory and performed all kinds of crazy experiments on it, including a double-fisted capacity test. As you can see from the results of the time lapse, the DC battery capacity test came out at 1,520 watt hours out of 2,060 for a slightly below average 74%. However, the AC capacity test scored 1,670 watt hours out of 2060, or a much more respectable 81%. This is fairly surprising because the HOMEPOWER only offers a single 12-volt output. So where's all this loss coming from? My guess is because when you turn this button on to power the 12 volts, it's also powering all 4 USB ports. You got a pair of 100 watts and a pair of 18 watts. That's all being powered at the same time, whether you're using them or not. So my guess is because they didn't separate out the USB and 12 volts, that the 12 volt capacity test, basically there was some power loss to the USB ports while I was running it for the number of hours it took to discharge this. Now, this isn't really going to make much of a difference to most home users unless you're actually planning on plugging in a 12-volt refrigerator for long periods of time. As for the max charge rate test, the results are somewhat confusing. Now we're going to do the max charge rate test, which is going to test to see how fast can this thing charge from things like AC wall power or solar. So what I found interesting is that Generark didn't supply me an adapter to do this test, but fortunately, being the professor and how I've been doing this for years now, I have all kinds of adapters and things laying around. So what I ended up doing was I got what I thought was typically an 8mm plug. I put it in, and I noticed it's super loose, and I'm like, what's up with that? I took a closer look, and I realized there was something I didn't like. Notice these 8mm inputs. Now this has 2 MPPT controllers in it, so it can charge from 2 separate sources. But look at that center pin. It's a lot bigger than the pin that you typically get with an 8mm. It's actually that size, which I got this from JACKERY. This is the JACKERY solar panel adapter where it takes the thin plug and makes it a thick plug. And I was trying to figure out why the heck they did that. But there we go. So I have my 8mm with the JACKERY adapter, and now I can plug it in and do my test. And I'll explain to you later why they did it this way. Now I have this plugged into my 1800 watt power supply. This supplies 50 volts at around 37 amps. This can take 57 volts up to 11 amps. The input on this is limited to 400 watts each. So each one of those MPPT controllers, while they can handle 11 amps and handle 57 volts, they're actually limited to 400 watts each. So this unit can take 800 watts of solar, but not all at one input. It has to be split between 2 different inputs. Let's go ahead and turn my charger on and see what happens. Now you can see over here on this side, this is the input wattage. And right now it says 293. So where's the other 100 watts? I'm outputting 50 volts, just like I said. So why in tarnation am I only getting 300 watts on the input? Is it the input itself? I don't know. Let's try switching them. Okay, I just switched over to the other MPPT. And that is limited to 293 watts. Let's try raising the voltage and see what happens. Okay, here we are at 54.6 volts. I activate it. You'll see when the yellow light comes on, that means it's working. So it flicks back and forth to green, fan runs, and we get charging. Oddly enough, we're only getting about 317 to 318 watts. I tested it 54.6 volts is the limit. Anything beyond that, the Generark doesn't accept it. Now that makes me want to test with my variable voltage charger to see how much can we push into this at a typical 2 solar panel input. That's going to be somewhere between 40 and 50 volts, depends on the panels. So let's go ahead and push that and see what kind of power we get. Okay, let's go ahead and push this now up into the 40 volt range.
Well, looky what we have here.
At the 40 volt range, we finally get the magic 400 watts. In fact, we're pushing a little over 400 watts. Now let's push this up all the way to 50 volts, and instantly it caps itself at 300 watts. I wonder why that is. That just must be the way the controller works. You see where it says MPPT right there? I know it's really small and hard to see, but as soon as that word kicks off, just like it did, that means it's no longer using MPPT tracking to get the best wattage. Now, I'm here at 46.5 volts. It seems like 46 is right around the point where it kicks out of MPPT. The controllers in here are obviously designed to max out around 46 to 48 volts, which is 2 solar panels in series. That's usually around 200 watt solar panels in series. And that makes sense because you can actually buy this in a bundle on their website with 2 200 watt solar panels, and that would actually go in the one port, and then you can add 2 more solar panels onto the other port. So that means you can put 4 200 watt solar panels into this. It would theoretically cap out at 800 watts charging. So this is all good news for the solar on the Generark. It's just a little bit different than what we're used to. Okay, you can see here I have 2 200 watt Generark panels hooked up with their included box, just like Jackery does. You have 2 8mm coming in, and then it goes out to match the 8mm in the back. Now this is the thick pin. We do have some clouds in the sky, and it is very close to sunset, so I'm not going to be surprised if we don't get that much. Well, I doubt you could see anything. It says 1.9 hours to full, 255 watts, which is kind of surprising. And you take a close look, you can tell that these are Jackery panels, just rebadged, different color scheme. They have exactly the same folding, exactly the same magnetic, exactly the same legs. It is basically a Jackery panel in disguise. Do note that charging from AC wall outlet is limited to about 1,000 watts and is not adjustable in any way, shape, or form. So if you plan on charging this with a gas or propane or diesel generator that's say like 1,000 watts, it's not going to happen in this case. It's going to overload that generator. So just be aware that 1,000 watts is the minimum, 1,000 watts is the maximum when it comes to charging from AC power. As for simultaneous charging ability, the HOMEPOWER 2 does not offer simultaneous AC and DC charging, but does offer dual DC charging from its 2 inputs in the back. When you are charging from the AC wall outlet, the fans will kick on, so let's actually see how loud those are. Around 55 decibels. The Generark does offer a single 12 volt output that is regulated at 13 volts. Let's see how many amps we can push through it. It is rated at 10 amps. It is maxed out at about 9.5 amps, pushes 11.4 volts, which is acceptable. The Generark does have 2 100 watt power delivery ports on it, but can they provide 100 watts each simultaneously? Well, I have my tester here running at 20 volts, 5 amps from one of the USB ports. And on the other port, I have a power bin charging at 100 watts. You can probably just make it out right there. To verify that output right there, it says 188 watts. That means you can charge 2 high-end laptops simultaneously from the Generark if you're having a power outage, which sometimes that's all the entertainment you have during a blackout. Pure sine wave check under load. We're going to apply a load to the Generark, and we're going to see how it affects the sine wave and the voltage. And for the load, of course, we're going to use the solar degenerator. The heat gun is a really good source to throw in an inverter because it's not really the cleanest load. Okay, so it's going to throw the inverter for a loop. We'll see what it does with the sine wave. Sine wave still looks good. We're still holding 110 volts at 60 hertz. So far, so good. Now, you might be able to hear that in the background. That is the fans for the inverter. So let's go ahead and do a sound pressure test to see how loud are those fans. 53 decibels. Now we're going to test the capacity of the inverter on this. This is a 2200 watt inverter with a 4400 watt surge. So I have right now running my electric heater, which pulls somewhere around 1400 watts. Adding solar degenerator. 23, 24, 25, almost 26. It's still taking it. Dang. All right, well, 2600. I still got to find something else to plug in that will get us past 2600. 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, beeping, 29. We hit 3,000 watts. It's still going. The sine wave still looks good at 3,000 watts. Look at the volts. 110, rock solid. That's amazing. Right, so at 3,100. 34, 35. All right. It didn't like that. Okay, the air coming out it's only 90-something degrees, so it's actually not bad. The result of the inverter capacity test shows that we were able to pull 3,200 watts out of this 2,200 watt inverter for probably about 30 seconds before it actually overloaded and safely shut down. We do this test to make sure that if you accidentally overload the inverter, it's not going to blow up on you. Safety is the primary thing when it comes to inverters and drawing too much power from them. You don't want them to smoke or catch fire or quit on you just because you accidentally put too much power into it. The Generark did pass with flying colors the 5-minute heat soak test, which runs the inverter at least its maximum load for 5 minutes. And in fact, I accidentally ran it at 2,300 watts instead of 2,200 watts, and it still passed with flying colors. Now we know that the Generark can charge from AC wall outlet and it can charge from solar panels, but can you actually charge from AC and DC at the same time? Well, let's find out. Okay, plugged into the wall, it is charging at just over 1,000 watts. Let's go ahead and plug in the solar. No effect. So there are the results. While it will charge from AC wall outlet or simultaneous MPPT controllers in the back, it won't do both at the same time. So if you plug it into the wall, that takes priority. So that means you cannot simultaneously charge this from AC and DC sources. Now, in order to prevent some angry comments saying that I never show how these things power real-world appliances, besides the fact that I showed you powering a heater and several hair dryers and a heat gun, I'm going to go ahead and cover all my bases and power this air conditioner, even though it's wintertime. It's 72 degrees in here. I'll turn it on, show you that the Generark can handle an air conditioner. High cool with the compressor on. Let's see how much power it's pulling. There you have it. The air conditioner compressor is running. It's using about 280 watts. That's confirmed up here. This says about 270 watts. Hours remaining, 4.7, and that's at 80% charge. So you can expect to run an air conditioner like this for about 6 hours with the compressor on. So if you happen to have a blackout in the middle of summer and say you live in Texas or somewhere where it's really hot, you can have a small window air conditioner such as this, plug it into something like a Generark. You see it doesn't pull that much power, somewhere around 300 watts while the compressor's running. So you can actually run the air conditioner all day long while the Generark is charging with solar. Since this can take 800 watts of solar, that means you can take more power in than you're putting out for the air conditioner, meaning you can actually run this until nighttime in case you need it. Our final test is the amp interference test. This is where I plug in a small amplifier into the inverter. And we see, is the inverter noisy? Is it going to cause a problem if you plug an amplifier, ham radio, anything like that PA system into this? Because some people do use these portable devices to power things like ham radios or to play music on stage or something like that. Will this power an amplifier without causing interference? So let's find out. I have this PV amp. All the knobs are turned all the way up, but there's nothing plugged into it. Let's go ahead and turn on the inverter. See what we get. Well, looky what we have here. We have interference. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn all the lights and everything off just to make sure it's not something else in this room. Nope, didn't make any difference. Let's move the amplifier away from the Generark and see if that helps. Okay, I now have the amp and the Generark probably about 3 feet apart. Now, that's an unfortunate result for this product. That means if you plan on powering an amplifier, ham radio, anything like that that has an amplifier in it, you can expect noise out of the speaker. Therefore, you probably want to look for something else to power that kind of equipment. Does the Generark support pass-through charging? Yes, it does. It actually supports both AC and DC pass-through charging, but it does not have a built-in UPS feature. So what do I like about the Generark HOMEPOWER 2? The best part about this product is its design. It is damn sexy. It was obviously very well thought out and engineered. Just look at the fit of this 12-volt plug. It is absolutely flush. You never see that in a solar generator nowadays. Usually the plugs are a simple afterthought. The screen has all the information you could possibly want. However, it's kind of hard to read in direct sunlight, and the wattage numbers are a little bit on the small side. I don't know why they put the wattages like microscopic and then they put the times really big, but the information is there. And they include true dual 100-watt power delivery and true dual quick charge ports to cover all your USB power needs. The 2200-watt inverter, while a bit noisy, is rock solid under maximum load, and I was able to push well over 3000 watts with no problems. And I'm starting to like this new trend where solar generators are offering dual MPPT inputs. It gives you a lot of flexibility from charging from 2 separate sources. You can do 2 12 or 24 volt vehicle inputs. You can make them 1 solar and 1 vehicle input, or you can make them dual solar inputs. It's up to you. With 800 watts of solar and 1000 watts of AC input power, this isn't the fastest charging unit in the universe, but it's still very competitive. What really makes this stand out is its tiny little footprint. If you're short on space, if you're in a tiny home or an RV or a small trailer or something, you're looking for something that has a small footprint, this is one of the smallest on the market for the size inverter that you get. And since they include those really cool magnetic removable wheels, anybody can literally roll this around. You can get a 3-year-old to push this around in your house. It's that easy on those wheels. And this is only 47 pounds, which is extremely lightweight for a 2000 watt-hour solar generator. So if you live in a small apartment or a small space where floor space is limited, this is a very serious contender for a home backup solution. Now this takes me to what I don't like about the HOMEPOWER 2. Unfortunately, the biggest letdown is that Generark chose to copy JACKERY by using those large pin 8mm sockets for their dual MPPT inputs. And since they don't include any kind of solar adapter, it means you can't use your own third-party panels. Essentially, you're being forced to buy their brand, which are identical to JACKERY's design, but basically with a different color scheme. So while the panels they offer are high quality, they did kind of pigeonhole themselves into playing the same proprietary game as JACKERY. Generark could have easily remedied this by including an MC4 adapter cable in the box that allow you to use your own third-party panels. I think this was an oversight on their part because they're probably thinking that most users are either going to just stick this in a closet and use it for backup power, and for those that are solar-centric, they're simply just going to buy this with the solar panel bundle and be done with it. However, they did leave out all the folks that already own their own solar panels, which is unfortunate. And finally, I was really surprised when I unpacked the HOMEPOWER and I saw this cable, and it doesn't have a UPS standby feature. This device is used as a backup solution for the home, and when it didn't come with a separate power brick, I'm thinking, okay, this has a standby UPS relay built into it. Now it does offer both AC and DC pass-through charging, so while you do have this plugged into the wall, you can pull up to 1,000 watts from the inverter and it'll run indefinitely. But since there's no switching relay built in, it means that it's running off the inverter and the batteries all the time. This is good if you're trying to power a PC computer or a server or something that can't be switched on and off quickly, but the downside to that is that it wears out the batteries over the long term. So technically this is called an online UPS, which is the best kind because it works safely with all electronics. Now the downside to an online UPS is that eventually it'll kill the batteries. If you've ever owned a typical UPS battery like the ones from APS brand, you know you have to replace those batteries every couple of years because even if the power never goes out, the batteries are always being used, therefore they wear out. So this feature is great for short-term usage. If you want to plug this in for a month and use it because they're having power problems, it's not going to really damage the battery. Or it's going to damage the batteries if you leave it plugged in for months and months or years and years with the inverter on. It's gonna basically use the battery constantly to power the loads from the inverter. Eventually you'll wear the battery out. Then again, Generark's offering a 5-year warranty on this product. So if you prematurely blow out the battery, who cares? They should replace it for free. The price of the HOMEPOWER 2 depends on if you want to get the cheaper starter version or if you want to get this version, which is the Plus version. It also depends if you want to get the solar panel bundle or you don't. So I suggest if you're interested in this product, simply click the link below in the description, add the discount code I provide, and find out what the current price is. The prices are probably going to change over time from the time this video is released to months from now when somebody else might be watching it. As for competition, if the JACKERY 2000 was actually out and available, I'd probably say that would be the closest competitor because it's the same kind of battery, same features, same weight, and practically cost the same. Now, if I was talking about retail products that are available right now, probably the closest match would be the Zender Super Base Pro, which I just reviewed, as it's virtually the same weight and battery size. The Zender does offer faster solar charging, an app, and a UPS, but the Generark offers the larger inverter, real QC ports, and actually, I think, a much better looking product in a slimmer package that doesn't require you to bend over to pick it up. The Generark is clearly aimed more towards the home crowd that will use it around the house, the garage, or in the backyard. This isn't really a solar generator that you would take with you camping. It's just not packaged for that kind of environment. As for recommended solar, if you're not someone into building your own adapter cables from scratch, I'm going to suggest you get the solar panel bundle from Generark that suits your needs. This way you don't have to worry about compatibility with third-party panels. However, if you already own third-generation JACKERY solar panels with the 8mm plug, they are compatible with this product. They even use that same connection box as the JACKERY does. So you won't need the Generark panels if you already have the JACKERYs. Note that the starter model only supports 400 watts, while this Plus model does support 800 watts. So if you're interested in the Generark HOMEPOWER 2, the link and discount code is in the description below. Thanks for watching. If you learned something today, don't forget to give me that thumbs up below. And if you're not a subscriber already, you know what to do. That's it for now. Till next time.
Odin commands you to like and subscribe, and clean my litter box.
Well, since that video only took 2 weeks to make, I think I should treat myself to a Saurian Clinky. Thanks for watching.
What can I do for you, Jim?
I said give me the brandy!
RV Golf Guy, Medic Audio Repair, Andrew Von Roger Cardano, Brian Blue vs. John Stason Sirocco.